Judges are known to be fair and the epitome of making the right call, even in the most chaotic of situations. But there are times when even the most calculated people find themselves filled with emotions that they just can't control. Today, we're going to talk about such times when judges tried their best, but the cases that they were going over were so sentimental that the judges ended up crying. But before we start the video, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get all of the latest updates. We're going to make more videos on interesting topics, so if you want to watch them, subscribe to our channel. And let's get started. Let's look at the Tara Grinstead trial at number 5. Nearly 3 years after Tara Grinstead vanished in 2008, 48 Hours journalist Peter Van Sant first reported on the case. At the time, hardly any believed the mystery would ever be solved. In 2017, however, a lady came up with an extraordinary account of her boyfriend's past. But how reliable would it be? Tara Grinstead, a popular educator and beauty queen in Ocilla, Georgia, vanished in 2005, leaving residents of the town baffled. Communities banded together to look for her for weeks after a missing person report was made. Her family hadn't given up any hope, and authorities haven't stopped looking for any clues, even as the years have passed.
I have not lost hope. I really have not lost hope.
The WALB created a chronology detailing the events leading up to this point. Ryan Duke's 2-week trial for murder and the killing of Grinstead ended then. The jury ruled him not guilty on all counts, including murder, burglary, and aggravated assault. Tara Grinstead's friends, family, employees at Irwin County High School reported her missing on October 24th of 2005 at 8:50 a.m., and the Osceola Police Department investigated. On October 22nd, she was last seen. In the Tara Grinstead case, an arrest was finally made after over 11 years of inquiry. In Irwin County, police have detained a 33-year-old man named Ryan Duke on murder charges in relation to Grinstead's abduction. Anyways, keeping all of these things in mind, it's clear that the case was a very emotional one. And so, while handing out these sentences, the man ended up crying.
In self-preservation, and doing the right thing for Tara and for you.
So, as you can see, you hear Judge Robert W. Chasteen giving a very sentimental speech.
I just can't quite, wrap my head around.
He said it's just an unfortunate situation that the family had to grieve for that long to determine what happened to Tara. He also said that while crying, he couldn't quite wrap his head around what happened. Next, at number 4, we have the Darrell Brooks case. In this case, a judge sentenced a man to life in prison without the possibility of parole for killing 6 people and injuring many others when he drove his SUV through a Christmas parade in a suburban Milwaukee.
The driver didn't stop there.
My son was in.
The judge rejected the defendant's and his family's claims that the man's mental illness was the driving force behind the crime.
Ultimately, the judge telling Brooks his mental health issues.
A total of 76 charges, including 6 counts of first-degree intentional murder and 61 counts of reckless endangerment, was handed out by Circuit Judge Jennifer Doro in Waukesha County against Darrell Brooks, Jr., age 40. And she did it all while crying. Each conviction of murder brought an automatic life sentence, and the only question was whether or not Doro would grant Brooks access to the state's current form of parole, extended monitoring in the community. Contrary to popular belief, she didn't. The death penalty is not an option in Wisconsin. As Doro read forth the life sentences, the audience cheered wildly. She then promptly handed down a 762-year jail term on the many charges of endangerment. "No one is safe from you, Mr. Brooks," Doro warned.
The community is not safe from your violent and criminal conduct unless you are in custody.
If you don't spend the rest of your life in prison, this town will never be secure again. As you drove the 7 or so blocks to the Christmas parade, you caused destruction, chaos, death, injury, and panic. After Brooks became disruptive during Doro's pre-sentencing statements, bailiffs took him to a different courtroom so he could participate via video.
1 life sentence for Tamara Duran.
He remained still while the judge read the penalties to which he was sentenced.
It's hard not to think about what I watched.
During a hearing, Brooks' victims pleaded with Doro to give him the maximum term allowed by law. Those words were from Chris Owens, whose mother was one of the victims. To Brooks, "All I want is for you to rot, and for you to rot slowly." So here's what happened. After an argument with his ex-girlfriend on November 21st of 2021, Brooks drove his red Ford Escape into the parade in downtown Waukesha. Jackson Sparks, 8, who was walking with his baseball team, and 3 members of a group called the Dancing Grannies were among the 6 people that were slain. Many more were hurt as a result. Brooks told the judge before she handed down her sentence that
November 21st, 2021 was not.
He'd been mentally ill since he was a child, and he had no intentions of driving onto the parade path. He also sent his sincerest condolences to the dozen victims and their families. Brooks, who was representing himself in court, spent almost 2 hours rambling to Doro, but to no avail. Regardless of Darrell Brooks' claims to be mentally ill, Circuit Judge Jennifer Duro sentenced him to a 762-year jail term. What do you think about culprit claims for mental illness to be seen as not guilty? Do you think that they should be given, another chance? Let us know in the comment section. Moving on to number 3, Judge Caprio. Now let's talk about the judge that's been everybody's favorite for as long as we can remember. So Judge Caprio is a man who shows the world what a real representation of justice is supposed to look like. In all of his tenure, he's had people of all ages come to his court, and the man has always managed to figure out punishments for the people without doing any injustice, while making sure that the people learn, actual life lessons. In this case, a mom who came to court with her daughter who was called in for a red light issue. When asked about it, the mom said that the daughter didn't really remember the incident at all.
She doesn't recall the incident and doesn't know where the streets are.
It's weird, right? We'll wait till you find out what happened. The daughter then explained that the plates given on her notice did not belong to her car. When the clip was played, she was asked if the car was hers, and she denied, saying the car in the clip wasn't hers.
No. So
this plate is registered to Performance.
She also added that she's aware of the location because that's where she bought her car from. Someone else from the dealership was driving the car and dropping her off, but they gave her name as the driver. The mom asked if then she could tell a story.
Your Honor, may I tell you a little story?
The mom explained how her mother was the one who used to deliver milk to her mom. And then the daughter explained how her grandmother always said to mention the fact to Judge Caprio if they ever happened to run into him. The mom then asked if she could tell a story and explains the milk thing. The daughter then continues stating that the grandmother always said to mention the fact to Judge Caprio in case they might have to run into each other.
And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she always used to say, if you ever go in front of Judge Caprio, please tell him.
The judge then went into a whole story, and it was so adorable. Following up, the Ohio case at number 2. Now in this case, a man was brought in front of the judge for sentencing.
Not let alone 2 of their children being raped by your own admission, sir.
He was guilty of a disgusting crime, which was sexually abusing 2 young girls.
For sexual gratification.
The judge was reading out a sentence when she was so affected that she ended up getting emotional. She said this court is so sick and tired of seeing adults ruin and abuse children.
So sick and tired of seeing adults ruin and abuse children.
These are literally just one step from being babies.
Literally just one step from being babies.
They come to daycare. Those parents struggle so that when they release their children to someone during the day, they have some semblance that that child is going to be protected and safe.
Someone during the day, they have some semblance that that child is going to be protected and safe.
Not letting 2 of their children be raped by your own admission. She said that he violated a 4- and 6-year-old girl for sexual gratification.
For sexual gratification, you violated a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And he didn't even know the damages that he had done to the 2 girls. She said, I'm going to tell you something, Mr. McFadden. There are no free rapes in my courtroom on the count.
I'm going to tell you something, Mr. McFadden. There's no free rapes in my courtroom.
I'm sending you to prison for 11 years on count 4. They will be consecutive to each other for a total of 22 years. You have 32 days of jail credit.
For your lifetime with in-person verification every 90 days.
At this time, the court finds it necessary to protect the public from future crimes to punish the offender. Finally, the drunk driving case. A judge was moved to tears as he handed down a life sentence for a defendant on this particularly dramatic day in court. The court said, I did not know the family had no relationship.
I didn't know the family had no connection.
But I've seen too many of these situations, not seeing too many individuals suffer from drunk driving.
I've seen too many people suffer from drunk driving.
When Judge William Atkinson handed David Meyer a 10-year jail term, he was overcome with emotion.
I recognize the pain. I can only imagine if my wife, my daughter, did not come home one night.
Rebecca and Riley Pensberg, a mother and daughter, were murdered while Meyer, according to the investigators, was driving under the influence. They were strolling along Lawrence Road last August. When asked how he would feel if his wife or daughter suddenly disappeared, he answered, I comprehend the agony I can only conceive.
There's nothing I can say that's gonna ease their pain. There's no words I can say to give them any peace.
Meyer expressed regret in court, stating that while he thinks about the victims every day, there is nothing he can say to make their suffering go away. The BAC of Myers was allegedly between 0.2 and 2.9 times the legal limit, according to authorities. The judge admits he can't undo what occurred, but would want to discourage others from getting behind the wheel after drinking. He promises to keep informing everyone he meets that the first thing you lose when you drink is your judgment, and you would not tolerate drunk driving.
We'll continue to give people the understanding of what it means to drink and drive.
The victim's loved ones would not have chosen to speak out about Meyer's conviction. So that's all for today's video. If you liked the video, then click like and the bell buttons. Got another video coming for you soon. Take care until then.